All right, thank you very much, dear viewers, for staying with us. We've just watched together the press conference held by President Sisi, the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, and the European Council President Antonio Costa, and we are here in the studio with Dr. Milad Mumtaz, the expert on international relations. Dr. Mumtaz, a lot of points that mentioned in this press conference, and where would you like to start? I mean, it seems like the President ended his speech by saying that he wants the world to look at the Egyptian-European partnership, the comprehensive partnership, and to take it as an example, you know, for how peoples of the world cooperate together and build together for a prosperous future for the young, and you know, based on, again, equality, justice, peace, security, and looking forward to prosperity. Where would you like to start? I mean, three very entertaining speeches and three very important speeches given by the President, by the EU Commission President, and by the European Council President.
Actually, you know, I'd like to point out that something which is, I think, is being clear in the press conference. It's about harmony. You know, so many things have been said, you know. However, we would see on the spot, as we were watching the press conference, that the three leaders were talking in harmony. You know, it's about
one language, yeah.
Exactly, you know, it's about common understanding. We get it. And something else that stopped me, I'd like to share it with our dear viewers.
Please.
It's, you know, focusing on values and shared values. Yeah, we're talking about Europeans and, you know, Egyptians. However, when talking about values, we're talking about core values, and I mean it, core values. For example, when talking about stability, when talking about peace, we mean it. I think that's one of the most crucial values ever. It's peace. It is justice. You know, and these two words are not just mere words. It's not that we open up the dictionary and we look up these two words. It's about actions. And I think Europe has seen this in action about Egyptians. Okay, despite the fact that about the rumors, we still recall, like, you know, 12 or 13 years ago, about the situation between Egypt and between Europe. Okay, nowadays that has changed because they have seen real Egypt, and I mean it, because they were relying heavily on some, you know, I would say that fewer, you know, handful voices talking about Egypt. Okay, but I think as they come to know Egypt for real, the reality of our country, I think that's, okay, I think that was the main reason that they changed their mentality and their views about Egypt and what Egypt is all about. And something else which is very important about the political leadership of Egypt. You know, because once again, it was seen differently, and now they see Egypt differently as well.
We've heard Mr. Antonio Costa, for instance, in his speech saying that Egypt represents a leading voice in the global scene. The words of Mr. Antonio Costa.
That's no exaggeration. And Europeans don't exaggerate. It's about telling the truth. Because as I was saying, it's about they have seen it in action. You know, about Gaza and about other issues. And something else that stopped me in the press conference, in His Excellency's word, okay, Mr. President, as he didn't only talk about Egypt. He talked about Libya and what's going on in Egypt, in Libya, and the Egyptian efforts.
And Sudan.
And Sudan as well.
And Gaza, of course.
Of course, and Gaza. So we're not only talking about ourselves and our own interests, and our own goals. No, we always include the region and the sufferings and the challenges faced by the region. And that's not the first time. By the way, to us as Egyptians, we're used to this. We always talk about our brethren in Gaza, in Sudan, in Yemen, in Syria, in Libya. Okay, but Europeans, I think, you know, that's something, you know, different to them. So they have seen it in action. You know, they have seen the political leadership, as I'm saying. They have seen, you know, the public opinion in Egypt. And they have seen it themselves. because it was pointed out at the press conference, okay, that two European leaders, they were talking about Egypt, and they were here in Sharm el-Sheikh. You know, it's about, you know, they saw it themselves. It's totally different when you see something with your own eyes.
And again, the EU Commission President said about Sharm el-Sheikh that it represented a moment of true leadership. This is how she put it. Now, it was very interesting, Dr. Mumtaz, and not a surprise at all, and expected, that the three leaders indicated that what happened in Sharm el-Sheikh was historic, but we need to build on it. I mean, the words of Mr. Antonio Costa saying, hope in Sharm el-Sheikh needs to be transformed into lasting peace. The words of Mr. Costa. Now, the EU Commission President von der Leyen, Ursula von der Leyen, saying that it was a moment of true leadership, of course pointing to Egypt here, and that the EU is ready to play its part in the short term and in the longer terms. And it talked about aid delivery and also about helping the reform of the Palestinian Authority. We know that the position of the EU towards the Palestinian Authority is different from that of the United States. And of course we know about the position of the Israeli war crime suspect prime minister, who doesn't want Hamas to stand, Fatah to stand. He doesn't want Turkish forces there. He doesn't. I mean, he was told by
He doesn't want
anybody. Yeah, and he was told by Mr. Trump anyway that he cannot fight the whole world. And it seems that he still is intent on doing that. And President Sisi said again, you know, Egypt. I mean, this is Egypt's words again for decades, that. He said, again, he talked about the history that happened in Sharm el-Sheikh, but he repeated again Egypt's message to the whole world. The Cairo message is, peace can only be achieved via, you know the rest, international resolutions, UN resolutions, independent Palestinian state borders for 4th of June 1967, occupied East al-Quds, Jerusalem, the capital.
I think that's undisputable on our side. You know, that's. And if you don't mind, when it comes to bringing up history and what happened historically speaking, I think one of the most important words that Israel doesn't like is history. Maybe their twisted narrative of history, yeah, they like it. But when we talk about history and the true, authentic narrative of history, they don't like it. So once again, when you keep on reminding everyone, I think we have never given up, and we will never give up on this, reminding everyone of the true narrative, of the just narrative of that, you know, very precious and holy piece of land to us, it's Palestine. So we will not forget about this. And there is something else that His Excellency mentioned. It's about abiding by international law. International law, unfortunately, okay, for the last 2 years, we really doubted that it exists. We doubted that, okay, because especially when it comes to younger generations, you know, young men and young women, when they kept on asking us about, okay, what is that thing called international law? And even actually, they lost faith in international law. So I think bringing back this.
Because you had one country supported by another country fighting the whole world.
Exactly.
Of course, and that other country is the biggest in the world.
And not only, you know, the international law, the international organization as well. So I think talking about international law, this has to do with
and it was
restoring this.
Very good, I think, Dr. Mumtaz, to hear Mr. Antonio Costa say that Egypt and the EU believe in multilateralism, they believe in the United Nations. I mean, it was good to hear, wasn't it?
It's the word that, okay, one of the words, okay, I like most, multilateralism. Okay, this is very crucial. We don't want a word that, okay, to be controlled by a single power. This is very crucial. And this is, I think that's the right moment. We need actually to stress on this. Always that is what international law is very crucial, and multilateralism.
And of course, President Sisi talked about inviting, of course, the EU to the reconstruction conference that Egypt plans to organize at the end of, in the second half of November. Mr. Costa had said that the EU is ready to play a role in the reconstruction of Gaza. One final question, Dr. Mumtaz, because we're going to have our news in less than 5 minutes. It is regarding the fact that, again, the three leaders affirmed that the main pillar for the partnership is the people-to-people partnership. These words were echoed by President Sisi, Mrs. von der Leyen, and Mr. Costa.
I think one of the most crucial points when it comes to people partnership is that about, for example, that universities and education. I love this in the press conference because that's a very crucial thing. It's about, okay, education. Education is one of the most important driving forces. It's undeniably true. We need more of this, despite the fact that the first phase has been taken, but we need more of European universities in Egypt, because that's about human
capital. And there was a lot of talk about the two banks of the Mediterranean.
Exactly.
I mean, we heard this also a lot.
Okay, that's very crucial as well.
We're always used to say this here. I mean, it's the Mediterranean blood. We have one blood, by the way, the Mediterranean.
Culture, speaking, and you mentioned that they stress on this as well, about culture and how important culture is, and culture partnership, not only political partnership or economic. Okay, I know political and economic partnership are very crucial, but we shouldn't forget about culture partnership as well.
Thank you as always, Dr. Mumtaz. It's always a great pleasure to have you with us. That was Dr. Wilad Mumtaz, the expert on international relations. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you to your viewers for staying with Nile TV. In 3 or 4 minutes, we'll be back with the news. Please don't go away.